Welcome to the Career Brand Story podcast, where we talk about your career, your brand, and your story. I'm Jeremy Tudor, career strategist, brand marketer, and storyteller that created the Career Brand Story method that has helped thousands of job seekers craft their career brand story for today's job market and land their dream job. I'm here with Jebgraf, creative consultant, commercial photographer, producer, and amazing co-host of this show.
Wow.
How are you doing, Jeb?
That was a lot.
I know. I thought about that when I wrote it out. I was like, how many titles can I give Jeb?
Yeah. I'm just Jeb. That's what they call me here at the studio. Just
Jeb.
Yeah.
JUSTJEBB.
That's the one. I guess I need to get a new website.
That's
hey,
right.
It's good to be back. We've been on kind of a unplanned hiatus, eh?
Yes. Well, you know, moving to a new city takes a lot out of you. And then you traveled a lot, and I traveled a lot. We had to go see clients. They wanted to see our pretty faces.
Mm-hmm.
So you went to Ohio. You've gone to California.
Yeah.
Did you went to Florida?
Did I go to Florida?
Did you go to Florida? I feel like you went to Florida too.
Yeah, I think that I've been back. I think we had our last podcast was recorded after that, maybe, or I was getting ready to go. But yes, I have been to Florida in the past couple of months. It's been busy.
Yeah. I think we had completed our travels from the last podcast, but you know, what comes from travels is more work.
You're right about that. Yeah.
So we've been locked in our offices and studios working.
Yes.
Quietly.
Maybe not quietly. I've been warning the people in the other offices around me that I'm going to be playing a lot of loud music. When I get into edit mode, I like to turn up the funk and get to editing.
Ooh, what do you like to listen to when you're editing?
A lot of funk music. I listen to Wolfpack. I listen to like older Stevie Wonder, Jackson 5, just stuff that has a good groove. I have a playlist on Spotify called That Groove, though, and that I started. I should make that public. I'm going to make that public. So by the time you're listening to this, you can subscribe to That Groove, though, which is my Groove podcast. I mean, not my podcast. What am I saying? It's my Groove playlist on Spotify, and that's what I like to listen to when I edit.
That's really cool. I heard Stevie Wonder live in 2015.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
How'd you do that?
He was a guest at the Special Olympics.
Oh, man. That makes sense. You're lucky.
Yeah. I was at the closing ceremonies. He actually messed up and he started all over again.
Wow.
That's what I remember about it.
Well, hey.
Maybe he didn't mess up. Something messed up.
Well, either way, if we pretend that it was him that messed up, then we can go with what I always say, that everybody's just people.
That's right. Progress, not perfection.
That's right.
That's Stevie, why we mess up here all the time, too.
Stevie's been at it for a long time, and he can still make a mistake.
I couldn't have done what he does.
No way.
It's incredible.
He's incredible. So what are we talking about today, man?
Yeah, so we got some good topics here on today's show. We're going to be talking about the October 2021 job report. Obviously came out because we're now in November, but it's good for us to talk about what that is doing. And that's going to lead us into talking about this great resignation that you may be hearing a lot about in the media. And what are you supposed to even think or do about that? What does it mean to you? I think that's really important. And then I've got a LinkedIn tip. So I hope everyone sticks to the very end, because I'm going to give you a little bit of a LinkedIn tip that came up with a client this week and through text. And when I looked at it, I was like, oh, wow, I've been looking at this the wrong way, and I want to make sure everybody knows how to look at something in the right way, so they don't panic over there on LinkedIn and really optimize their profile in the right way. So that's what we got going on. Also, the studio, I don't know, it's a little bit different. I'm actually sitting in a co-working space called Success Lab in Mount Juliet. It's just minutes from downtown Nashville and from the airport. It is a fantastic facility. There's no membership. You can come in and rent the room per the hour and exactly what you need. They've got some hot desks that you can do. They've even got a conference room. And actually, you can't see this, but if I look out I'm renting an office space. If I look out the office window, it's got these beautiful floor to ceiling windows that looks out into a wooded area. Absolutely beautiful right now because it's fall time. Honestly, I hope it's beautiful everywhere you're at, but my gosh, I took my daughter to school today. She's part of this nature program, and we drive across, a gorgeous lake. When we drive across it, it is just so beautiful. And so I'm really enjoying this weather. I'm enjoying where I'm at in this podcast, and thankful for Success Labs for letting us to be a part of their space here today as well.
That's awesome. Thanks, Success Labs. I'm in my office, which I don't know if we talked about this in the podcast, but anyway, I left my former large luxurious studio earlier in the year and moved my office into the Chamber of Commerce building in Fuquay-Varina. They have 2 small offices that they rent out. I'm one of 2 tenants, and then I use the conference room as my shoot space if I have photo shoots. But right now I'm in my office, and when I look out my window, I see nothing because my blinds are down so that people don't make me laugh when I'm in the middle of recording a podcast. But you would love this, Jeremy. I've rigged up a smart light and a screensaver on the display that I put in my window that has like a scannable QR code to listen to our podcast. It says when we're on air, and the red light is on to say, I'm recording, don't knock.
Yeah, you shared that on social media once. I love it. Absolutely love it.
Man, see,
yeah. It's because we haven't done this for so while. We're just like out of it. We're like disconnected about how it's like a time space gap happened.
It is,
And
now I'm realizing we're boring people. We're 9 minutes into this thing.
I know, and I apologize to our listeners because I know they have wanted and have probably wondered what has happened to Jeb and Jeremy. Oh my gosh. But don't worry, because there's a lot of good things going to happen. I will say this before we dive into today's topics. This is going to be our last episode for this season for the year 2021. I almost said 2020 because we're all still thinking we're there. But this is going to be the last episode. Absolutely been fantastic over this last year. And just been a blast. Looking forward to next year. We've already got some things that we're talking about doing, shifting, planning as we go into next year. And I'm pretty excited about those things that are going to come. But we're going to give ourselves a little bit of a break because I think as entrepreneurs, I think as just people in general who probably have worked really hard, if you're anything like me, sometimes you have to give yourself permission to take a break. And I'm guilty that I don't do that enough. And so I'm giving us permission to take a break after this episode, after all the work has been done, because you do this episode and then you produce it. That's where all the work is really done. Mm-hmm. And then we'll take a break. And that brings up another topic. So I have to tell people this story. So we had a person write a letter to me about a podcast episode that changed their life. An amazing letter to receive. Actually put me in tears. That's why I'm not going to bring up or read it because I would end up being like a weepy mess talking about it. But I text you and was like, man, this is awesome. Thank you so much for all of your hard work. And like a true Enneagram 9, I was telling Christy, my wife, this. I was like, Jeb kept texting me back like, it's all you, man. You did such a great job. And I kept being like, yeah, but it was a team effort. Thank you. And I told Christy, I said, I just wanted to text Jeb back and be like, WTF, can you just take a compliment? I'm trying to give you a compliment.
I knew that. What's funny is I knew that you would be thinking that.
Yeah.
That you just wanted to tell me to shut up. But
I did. I almost text back like, just shut up and take the compliment. Because look,
appreciate
this whole podcast, and what it ends up out there for our listeners, is honestly because of the great work you do behind the scenes. And
I really appreciate it.
You know how much love I have for that, but I just want to say it publicly as well.
Thank you. Yeah, I
All
really
right.
appreciate it, and I love doing this podcast. I know that it is not our goal to make this podcast like a big moneymaker. I just wish that like this was all I could do sometimes. I love my photography work, but sometimes I'm just like, man, this is just fun.
But maybe one day, it could happen.
I'd be happy to split like my big jobs, like what I traveled for.
Yes.
With this.
Well, and when we say we would like to do this full time, just like the podcast, just so our listeners know, that's not a lot of money actually for us.
That's true. Some might say we're cheap.
If there's a benefactor out there or an investor that wants to invest a couple of dollars, it could happen. The dream could happen faster than we might believe.
Anytime.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm sure everyone's tired of our bromance.
Yeah. Let's move on from the bromance.
So the October 2021 job report comes out. I look at these monthly reports every month, and especially since we came out of the pandemic, when that started, and as coming out of it, I think the job reports have been a really important metric for us to look at to see how the job economy is doing. And the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, they come up with this report. Employers added around 531,000 jobs in October. That was a big improvement from a previous month, and maybe some sign of optimism as the latest I can't even say it now. The coronavirus surge eases. The employment rate, it's edged down to around 4.6%. So job growth widespread. We had notable job gains in leisure and hospitality. That one kind of makes sense. Professional and business services continued. Manufacturing, transportation, and warehousing. Employment and public education declined over the month. None of that really surprised me. I think all of that kind of makes sense for what we're hearing and what we're seeing. The number of persons not in the labor force who currently want a job was still around 6 million in October, and that was really kind of unchanged over the last month, and really since February of 2020. Also in October, 11.6% of unemployed persons teleworked because of the pandemic, and that was down.
I'm going to correct you there. You meant to say employed.
Oh, did I say unemployed?
You said unemployed, yeah. 11.6%.
I mean, they were teleworking too. Just to clarify.
The unemployed people, yeah.
Yeah, but 11.6% of employed persons teleworked. That was down from 13.2% in the prior month. And that right there is, I think, really important to note, because I think there is a lot of hype about remote work. And yes, while there has been more opportunity for remote work, while I do think there will be a trend for more workplace flexibility, the reality is that under 16% of the total workforce is actually true remote work. And to me, that's a smaller percentage than the hype that sometimes I get in the media of everybody clamoring for a remote job. And so I think that that's just kind of really important to kind of note. The other thing is, I think that hospitality and I think retail jobs are going to continue to go up through the holiday season. And then even in January, when traditionally, that might be kind of a slowdown and is for retail. A lot of retail is still struggling to get employees in the door. And so I think come January, we're going to continue to see an increase in that space as well. And probably across all of the job economy, we'll continue to be able to see, I think, job growth happen in the first quarter of 2022. And so this kind of brings us to that whole Great Resignation thing. So it's been called, I've seen Great Resignation, I've seen Great Reshuffle. there's been a lot of different names out here, but the news talks a lot about that. And so, I've read a lot of articles about it, and I have, I don't know, when I read the news, I like to read all angles and a lot of different perspectives, and then try to come out with what I think is common sense. And then for you, our listeners, what do you do with all this? Is it even important to you, when you're reading these articles or seeing that? The U.S. Labor Department revealed that 4.3 million Americans left their jobs in August of 2021. So it was around 2.9% of the national workforce. And they say that that's the highest number on record. Now, a survey from resumebuilder.com cited that employees that will leave or resign from their jobs by 2022, and they broke it down by industry. They said that IT industries, all right, information technology is about 40%, financial firms 24%, healthcare 18%, and then food and hospitality 16%. And they give a bunch of host of reasons, right? Money, better pay, better benefits, new career opportunities, starting their own business, remote working, or work flexibility. And so when you take in the October jobs report and you look at surveys like this, what does that really mean for me, right? And so the first thing that comes to me is that the reality is, right, only about 3% of the workforce is resigning, not 30%. But if you read all the news media's reports, right, you get this idea that everybody's resigning, right?
Right.
Like I'm resigning, Jeb's resigning, we're just all quitting our jobs and starting afresh. But the resignations aren't necessarily they're not even evenly spread. All right. Now, this isn't including people who may be unemployed, that might lose their job from restructuring, terminations of some other sort. This is true people who say, I'm tired of this job, I'm quitting, I'm resigning for some other reason and going somewhere else. And this kind of adds up to me based on the clients that we work with. Actually, right now, currently, out of the clients that we work with, and we'll carry, on average, somewhere between 25 to 30 clients during a month. I only have one client who's actually unemployed. All the other clients actually are employed. They're happily, in some ways, employed. They're okay where they're at. They may be thinking about maybe leveling up in their career. They may be thinking about an industry change because they've been doing something for a while, and they're thinking about that second half part of their career is how they tend to come to me with that. Although I tend to tell them that, if you're 50 years old and you're looking for a career change and you're looking for that next thing that you think you're going to work for the next 15, 20 years, it's probably not going to happen, but you're probably going to switch jobs a lot more often than you think. But that's kind of the mindset. And so that was kind of the first kind of clue to me, wait a second, what is this Great Resignation really all about? And is it really happening? Because I'm not getting the clientele, of all these people just scrambling to try to I got to get my stuff done and I got to find a new job because I'm resigning, I'm quitting type of thing.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We often talk about knowledge workers in tandem with the Great Resignation, but certain sectors, including food service and retail, they saw more quits during and since the pandemic, which again, totally makes sense, right? We're also now seeing those same sectors add more jobs because as COVID decrease and the shopping season increases, right? So I think that, again, you kind of have to step back and look at this. And I think there's a lot of hype, of what is being said about the Great Resignation that may not actually apply to every single one of us. The other consideration in all this for now is that many working class, and this was really, I actually read this from an economist, and this was so insightful to me, that the working class Americans have some savings left from their stimulus checks and unemployment aid. And they
savings?
Yeah.
What's that?
I know, right? I know. I would consider myself in somewhat of the working class, and I don't know where that went. But yeah, I mean, yeah. So some of them still have some savings, right? Or had some unemployment aid, and they can often supplement it by taking gig jobs. And so it gives them a little bit more of a cushion to find the right job. So here's the thing. I think it was absolutely right for the government to provide stimulus that these workers who at no fault of their own were losing their jobs because of the pandemic totally made sense. But what we also saw was that the government actually ended up paying them more than what they would have when they were working. And so, now we can get into a whole nother discussion
I was about to
around.
say, are we about to hear a hot take here that like is going to divide the audience?
Yeah, I mean, I think we could get into the whole minimum wage, basic income, universal income. Like, there's a lot of things we could dive into here around that. My point today is just that because of the way that it happened, that it gave people an opportunity, if they were smart with their money, to give them a little bit of a cushion. And now they're in a position where they can think about what's the right job for them. They're not just going to go out here and take anything that they want, which is why if you see retail businesses, so my son just started working at Target, he's getting paid $15 an hour. And then weekends, I think, because they're considered holiday, bumps up to $17 an hour. I mean, look, you're a 17-year-old, that's a fantastic money, right? But they're still struggling to get people in, even at that pay rate. And I think this is the thing, is like, there's people who used to work that job, they've got some cushion, and now they're thinking, all right, what's really the right next job for me? Now, for some of them, they may wait this out throughout the holidays, and then, come at the end of December and January, when that cushion starts to run low or run out, we'll see even a little bit more of a surge of people trying to return back into the workforce. But I also think there's a good number of people who have taken time and have found some meaning to their work, or have really thought about opportunities to upskill. And now they're considering, okay, what's that right next job for me that's going to come along? And so, like, for me, the biggest takeaway is that people are able to afford, at the moment, the right job. But for many, my prediction by January 2022 is that we're going to see a swelling of people, of activity going back into the job market.
That makes sense. Yeah. And then too, like, we can't ignore the education part, where there are plenty of parents who felt that they couldn't go back to work without, possibly putting their kids in danger or something, if they wanted to be, if they wanted to keep their children in remote learning classes for schools that had that option too. So I think, also, as we see with vaccination rates of children going up, we're probably going to see, more parents feeling safer about being able to get back into what they were doing pre-pandemic.
Yeah, and no doubt the biggest loss that we could probably say in the job market has been working moms. I've read reports, I think up to 52% of working moms have made that decision to stay home because someone is going to have to stay with a child. And so families are making this decision, and because schools are kind of still in and out, what do you do with that? How do you make that work for you? And so that's a huge segment that's out there. And again, we've had guests on before that have talked about this particular issue. Companies are going to have to change their recruitment and talent acquisition strategies, and realize that if they're going to succeed, they're going to have to reach out to that segment to succeed. And to reach out to that segment, man, you're going to have to provide workplace flexibility. You're going to have to provide better salaries. You're going to have to provide, deeper meaning to your work than just, this factory mentality and high productivity that our culture is. And I think people have gotten to a place where they're like, enough's enough.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's going to be interesting, to see what happens. And look, as a small business owner, as an entrepreneur in this, I personally, like if you're in the coaching business, I said this on my social media channel, kind of vulnerably, and I continue to confirm it. I was just talking to a client yesterday who works for a what you would consider a pretty big, business coaching person, and kind of got a handle, understood what their revenue numbers are, and it adds up that most people in the coaching business have lost about 40% revenue potential. I've seen that in my own business, and the months that I could predict, that, wow, this should be a really great month for business, has been like the worst month. And then the worst months end up being really great months. And so I just kind of throw my hands up. I'm done predicting, I'm just going to write out November, December, and let it come as it is, so it's going to be an interesting ride, I think, over the next couple of months. And we're all faced with higher, prices at the pump. I don't know what it is like over there for you in North Carolina, but we're a little over $3.10 here, at the pump.
That's about right. We keep seeing between 3 and 3.20 something.
Yeah, and you go to the grocery store and food prices are definitely up. What I could buy, is about $4 up from what I used to be able to buy it for,
Yeah.
So, I mean, all of these things are impacting all of us and our decisions, and especially around our careers, because obviously our careers is where we bring our income in. So, so many kind of things to consider. But I think, so if you hear all these statistics that we just went over and you're listening to the media, what do you do with that? What should be your step while all of this is going on? And I think there's kind of, three things that I think are really important that people should do. The first is this. I think you got to take inventory of where you are today and where do you want to be in the future.
I think I have to jump in and disagree with you. I think the first thing that you should do is decide whether you're going to call it the Great Resignation or the Great Reshuffle. That seems like the really most important thing you can focus on.
Important piece.
So if you're one of our YouTube listeners who watch and listen, let us know in the comments whether you vote for the Great Reshuffle or the Great Resignation.
That's actually a terrific poll that we should be taking. Which do you like? I have my opinion.
I like the reshuffle because
I like reshuffle too.
And I hadn't thought about it until today. I hadn't even heard that as an option. But here's why I like the reshuffle. I like the reshuffle because, like you said, it's not just about people quitting their jobs or something. It may be that you've discovered that, like, your productivity has gone through the roof by having a hybrid work schedule or a work from home or whatever you want to call remote working. And so you're just kind of reshuffling things. You're maybe deciding that you're not trying to climb the ladder. You're actually like plugged into the spot you need to be in or you thrive in and that kind of thing. So I like reshuffle better because, yeah, you're right. It's not that a third of the workforce is quitting their jobs.
Well, I like Great Reshuffle because I feel like there's like some dance moves that can go along with that.
That's right. You almost made me spit out my tea.
Like some good music, right? I don't even dance well at all.
Cupid Shuffle, yeah.
Yeah, like the Resignation sounds like a bunch of boomers that just are like grumpy about their jobs.
It does. It also seems to, well, I don't know that it really does imply that. Maybe just to me. Maybe I'm too used to our divisive social media world, but it also kind of makes me feel like it's in the negative. It's like those people are never going to come back to work. They've resigned. They're done. It's an end of something instead of considering the beginning of the next thing, which, is hopefully primarily better for that person, but then better for the companies that they're moving to and better for our economy all the way around. Happy people are going to help us all out.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, the other thing too is like the workforce is changing, right? It's an evolutional process. I mean, jobs that are in the job market today, 5 years, 10 years from now, won't be here, um, and and new jobs are going to be created. And so as people continue to grow in skills and want to just do different things, like reshuffling makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And so from that point, right, that is where you do got to take some inventory on yourself. Like, do you want to, it's funny. I know you're kind of joking about like that, but here's the part. I guess you do have to decide, do you want to be part of the reshuffle?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, language matters. It really does. I know we grew up with sticks and stones, but words will never hurt me. But, the way you speak about things and the way you think about things really do matter. And, maybe in that personal inventory check, you can think about that. How have I been thinking about my position in the world and what I do with my life?
Yeah. I mean, we always talk about career direction around like kind of like 4 different factors. Behaviorally, how you're wired to do what you do. And then we talk about your why, like that purpose behind it, what drives and motivates you, what's going to reward you in the job, which is why I believe a lot of people feel stuck and frustrated in jobs. What are your skill sets? Are there things that you can grow, do, or that you need? And then there's just a season of a little bit of things that you like to do, and I think that changes from season to season. I was just talking again to my 17-year-old son that just started working at Target, and I've just been really encouraging him. Like right now, it's just a time to try things, see what works, what you like, what you don't like. But I said, you're going to realize as you do this job that there's going to be certain things that you don't like. And you're never going to want to return back to those things. Like we told him, we're not, your mom and I aren't expecting you to make like Target your lifelong dream job, but if he decided that, we totally support him. But I mean, it's like, you don't have to make that right now, right? There's just things that I did in my 20s. I worked at a hotel and I actually loved working at the hotel. But I would never go back and do that now today.
Sure.
Like, that's just not what I want to do. Right.
Yeah.
So I think all of those things are mixed in there. And then, if I'm also taking inventory about where I'm at, I'm going to be thinking about my own values and do my values with the company I work with, do we share enough affirmed values that it makes it a place that in turn is meaningful work? Like that's where I think meaningful work happens, when you share affirmed values with the people that you work with and the work that you're doing. If you don't, there tends to always be that conflict or that undercurrent that just doesn't ever make it feel right. And so I think that those are important pieces to kind of take into your inventory and then think about, okay, well, what does that start to look like for me in the future?
Yeah.
And the second thing is, and this is going to sound so sales pitchy.
Yeah. Hang on just a sec. I just want to remind our listeners that we did an entire episode on taking inventory. It's episode 25 with Matt Munich. So you can go back into the archive. I say archive as though it's huge. This is only episode 37, and that was episode 25. So just skip back a handful. What is that? 12 episodes, and we have a whole episode about taking inventory.
Oh, man, I forgot that we did that episode. That's fantastic. See, you would think when we're writing these scripts that we're really thinking that through, but
no, you write the script and I wait and see what shows up.
That's right. So, all right. So the second thing that I would do right now during the great reshuffle, because Jeb and I voted, and so we have 2 votes now for great reshuffle, and as far as we know, 0 votes for a great resignation. But the second thing is, and this is going to sound like, so sales pitchy, and I'm sorry about this, but it is true. Hire a career coach. Go out and hire a career coach. And I don't even care if I'm that career coach. Obviously, I'm one of the best that are out here. All right.
We'd prefer you choose Jeremy.
I'm the preferred gold standard. All right.
He's a very humble career coach.
You should measure all career coaches to me, right? Oh my gosh. So actually, this is kind of funny. LinkedIn Pro Finder, where we do a lot of our marketing and a lot of our clients come through, they recently changed up and they have a rating system. And so clients can rate you on like 4 or 5 things, which I actually think is really smart and everything. But to be honest, I could tell you exactly where I would rate low on that. And so it always makes me nervous, because I'm one guy. So I'm not perfect, So I have like a 4.9 out of 5.
Yeah.
Although where I got the one low rate, I'd like to go back to that client and have a conversation.
Well, that's where I'm getting off track here, but that's where I've always
why he
proposed that we have a reverse Yelp where business owners can rate customers. So you can see like their report card that follows them around as to, whether you're in for a great customer relationship or not.
Yeah, I've always thought like LinkedIn should add the feature, you can give recommendations for people.
Yeah.
Well, but you choose right? It's only going to be positive recommendations. But if you could all of a sudden start to rate the employee, or we could rate one another, and a D recommendation. I don't know. You know what I mean?
Letter grades. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. That would change. That would change things, right?
It would.
Yeah. I think the guy who actually, the client that he gave me a 4.9 or maybe a 4-star on communication, but I'm strangely curious about that because I'm sometimes I think some people just can't give you a 5 in all categories.
I think you're right. And I think too, the problem with rating systems in general, just restaurant reviews is it doesn't really take personal tastes into account.
Yeah.
We were talking before we started recording about how I need to be emailed in order to keep up with something. I don't keep up with texts well. I don't prefer texting. I do like phone calls, but even that, I need an email follow-up after a phone call that says, hey, this is what we talked about, and please remember to do X, Y, Z. So, but I know that that's the opposite of the majority of things I see in my feeds are people saying, why call? Why email me? Text me. So, some people may think that I'm this archaic, terrible communicator just because I prefer email instead of DMs on the 7,000 different apps that are possible to DM in.
Yeah. I mean, personally, I prefer snail mail. Write me a letter, put a stamp on it. I'll respond in about 14 days.
Yeah. If you've ever called Jeremy, he has one of those voicemails that says, I'll probably never listen to this voicemail. Text me or email me.
And hey, but you know what? I have a lot less voicemail because of that. Most people respect it. The people who don't are the people who are trying to sell me something.
Yeah.
Or they're scams, right?
Or me, who just refuses to comply.
Yeah. But you'll sometimes leave me a message and then text me.
Yeah.
Hey, I left you a message. So we know how to drive each other equally crazy. I like to just start texting you line after line, knowing I'm driving you crazy.
Oh my goodness.
Those are the best.
I have to take medication when that starts.
Oh my gosh.
So
okay.
Anyway, we need hire a career coach.
Yes. But so we've established I'm the gold standard, but you all keep me humble. So thank you very much. But hire a career coach. And I in full transparency, and I really don't care whether it's me or not. I think that's the important thing about hiring any type of coach is you've got to find the right coach for you in the right season of life. So not everybody is for me or I'm for them, right?
Right.
And so, but a couple of things for you to think about. If a coach can't tell you what methodology that they use, what they do, and what the outcomes are that you can expect, if they can't give you actual results, then you probably should show them the door. They aren't the people to go with. And so I have prospects who are like, well, can you tell me results? Absolutely, I can tell you results. I think they're a little bit surprised because in career coaching, a lot of people don't actually can they actually can't tell you the results because it could become subjective. If all you do is help them with write a resume, LinkedIn, they could be out the door and you never know if they get a job or not.
Right.
But we've actually tracked our results within certain programs that I can actually give you real numbers. And we have a really high success rate when people follow our method in marketing themselves for the job market. So that's why Career Brand Story, we've got a proven approach to clarify your career direction. We have a proven approach for marketing yourself for today's job market and helping you grow in your career. Career coaching supports leaders in achieving the results that are important to their personal success and long-term success in their organization. So I assume that my client is the expert in their career. My role as a coach is just to draw out that expertise through inquiry, through curiosity, through gentle challenge. Sometimes I'm not so gentle and just get right to the point, but I really help people to stretch to their best self. And to do that, I use positive-based coaching. I'm a big believer that we should be leaning into our strengths and not our weaknesses. Like, we don't need to focus so much actually on our weaknesses if we can focus more on our strengths and lean into that. We use validated behavioral assessments. So I'm certified in DISC and our 12 driving forces, motivators, and I'm also certified in EQ. And so we use these behavioral assessments to enable people to use what we call the science of self to reveal and harness their talent and skills to be more engaged in their life, career, and calling. So very few career coaches can actually give you, again, those numbers of success. Let me tell you ours, all right? So in 2019, we have a 12-week coaching program. You know what's crazy about this, Jeb?
What's crazy about it?
So I basically don't even market this program. I only have 2 people in it. I've got a third person considering it, and I don't know why I don't market it more. I probably should only be doing this 12-week career.
Maybe that's why you're not marketing
program.
it, because you can't say it.
I know, I can't even speak it. So they're like, "What? Were you drinking?"
I was. The milk was good.
Yeah. But yeah. So okay. So there's reasons why. Maybe I'll explain that in a minute. But here's the results. In 2019, now obviously we have a roaring job economy. Things are really happening. 12-week career coaching program. Every person who went through that program, we had a 100% success rate of them finding jobs in 12 weeks.
That's incredible.
It really was. And I'm talking about, this is mid to senior level, right? This isn't like entry level type of jobs, and it cut across disciplines. All right. In 2020, I had got 12 new people who signed up to the program 2 weeks before the pandemic shut things down. All right. So, like, complete panic, everything shuts down, job postings drop by 40% overnight. And I have now got a dozen people in this program that have taken their money, and I'm thinking, like,
what are we going to do now?
Good luck,
Yeah.
So here's what we did for them. We stayed with them for an additional 12 weeks with the full service that they signed up with. All right. And then we stayed with them in a supportive role through the end of the year. And so in December of 2020, when I ran the numbers, 71% landed new jobs within 6 months during the worst job economy. I think that's fantastic.
That's really great.
And what it told me was that our method works if you just listen and you follow it. And, every once in a while, I get a client that comes along and they push back on the method, and they're like, I don't see how this is going to work. And they go get all this feedback from other people. But I'm telling you, we've tested it over and over and over again. When we open every podcast and we said that I've helped thousands of people, we really mean that. That's just not some fake number that we've come up with. We've actually helped thousands of people do this and take this approach. And so, yeah. So I've kind of committed to take up to 5 people right now into the program. I've got 2. I've got one more person signing up, so I got like 2 more spots between now and the end of the year. I don't know. Maybe I should be doing something going into January, but I need to give myself a little break and think that through. But gosh, it's just it works if you listen to me. So this is why I'm a great career coach. Why you should be looking at Career Brand Story for your career needs. But that being said, I also know lots of other great career coaches out there. And if I'm not the right person to you, I will happily recommend you to someone that I know and trust as well.
Yeah.
Because I also do think that there are a lot of people out here who don't know what they're talking about. And I run across that a lot or don't have yet enough experience to know everything, and they can lead you down the wrong path really easily. So look, check out Career Brand Story for your needs. But if we're, again, not the right fit, I will help you and recommend you to someone that I believe and trust in that is out there.
That's right. Helping people thrive in their life and do what they love doesn't mean Jeremy's the only one. It means helping you get to where you need to be. And that may be another career coach.
Absolutely. All right, so that's the second thing. Go find a career coach. And number 3, get your career brand story in order. Right now, between this air date and the end of the year is an amazing opportunity of time for you to get all this together and not be caught basically, in January with not having any of it done. So I've got some personal goals for me. So my birthday is in May, and I kind of always make a couple of goals for myself from like May to May, right? Mm-hmm. So one of those was I was going to get wicked smart with my money, which actually wicked smart. You're going to get wicked smart.
No, we're going Boston. Wicked smart.
Oh. So I can't do any accents. That was it.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Because we know that will go bad really fast.
Yeah, we would have to cancel ourselves.
Yeah. So which we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about what I've done and how I've done it in the new year. That's one of our big topics that we're going to be talking a lot about in 2022.
2022. It's the next one.
Feels weird.
I know.
But that's what we're going to be talking a lot about, because I've learned a lot about my mindset about money and how to handle it better from an entrepreneur standpoint. And I want to share that knowledge out. And I've got some really cool guys that I've been working with that we're going to bring on the podcast and have them talk with us about it too. So
Sweet.
That was one of my goals. My other goal was one of my goals is to get into the best shape that I ever have in my life. And this is really hard for me because I as a high achiever, I would rather put more hours into working on stuff like this than I would take a break and do a physical activity and sweat. The latter part is key, and sweat.
Yeah.
I don't like doing that.
Same.
So, but I was on TikTok and I was watching this guy, and he showed himself transformation, and he was like, look, here's what I look like in 92 days later. And I'm like, gosh, dang it. 90 days later is not that long, right? No. It's a 12-week program.
Yeah. That's a short amount of time.
I know. And I think, gosh, and it's and then I saw this other video. It's you have to show up, and you're going to show up the first day, and then you go exercise and then go look in the mirror. You're not going to see a difference the first day, right?
Yeah.
And you're not going to see a difference the second or third or fourth or maybe even the 5th day. But no doubt on the 90th day, if you've done all those things, you're going to see the difference.
Right.
So that's one thing, gosh dang, I want to do better at, but I'm not there yet. It's still a goal. I'll let you know. If I do that one, if I accomplish that one, then we're going to be talking about fitness goals. And maybe I'll become a fitness trainer.
All right, I'm out.
Maybe that's what That's what's going to happen. I'm just kidding.
I
That
know.
won't ever happen. But what I'm trying to say with all that, all right, is that I think so many times with our careers, we get busy doing our work that we forget to self-care in our career and say, look, I need to take care of some things for my own professional career and think about where I am and where I'm going. And I need to take some time and put this together. I just want you to think about January and what do you want to be doing and where do you want to be positioning yourself in your career when January hits? Do you just want to be starting to work on this, or do you already want to have it in place so that you're ahead of the pack? So what I'm doing is all of our packages right now are on sale through the end of the year, $100 off.
Nice.
Yeah. That's a great deal.
It's $100 you get to put in the gift pile, and the rest of it is a gift to yourself.
Yeah. So, so I'm just saying, really think hard about this. I think right now is a great time. And especially as you got some holidays, you will have some downtime where you can really focus on this, and just knock it out. And again, if you go with us at Career Brand Story, we make the process really simple. The commitment time that you really put into it, I would say max is about 2 hours of your needed time in it. We do everything else. We do all the heavy lifting for you to make sure that you got it going. And I'll also say this, and I don't know, I might regret saying this I'm going to go ahead and say it. There is a very good chance, I don't know what percentage, but there is a very good chance that the packages that you see today will no longer exist in January. That's what I'll say.
All right.
There's a very good chance that our business model is going to shift. We're still going to do what we do, but and so that we can provide even greater value. But I'm telling you, the prices that you see today are limited.
Yeah.
Especially with the $100 off.
Absolutely.
All right. I have made that last part so sales pitchy. Everybody turned off and was like, whoa, okay.
Yeah, that's the last two parts.
I know.
Rule number 2,
I don't know how else to say
hire
that.
a career coach. Rule number 3, get your career brand story in order. That's not sales pitchy at all.
Yeah. Right.
Look, it's a free podcast. What do you want?
Called Career Brand Story. Come on.
We only have one other ad in it currently.
That's right.
So it's fair. It's fair that you get to talk about your company a little bit, especially considering that your company does the thing that our podcast category is, which is in careers.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's in the name. So.
All right, but you know what? I'm going to give you all something free now. LinkedIn tip. We talked about a LinkedIn tip. Here's the LinkedIn tip. So I had a client text me the other day and they're like, hey, do we need to update my skills for this job? I only have 4 out of 10. So when you go to apply to a job, and if you have a premium account, they give you all this job data stats, and it will say like, hey, you got 4 out of 10 of the skill sets, right? And it green check marks it, right? So where it drives those skills from, we've talked about this on a past episode. I don't know which one, but it was recent about the LinkedIn one. But we talked about it. The skill sets on your profile page, you have a section called skills and endorsements. You can have up to 50 skill sets. They should always be hard skill sets. And then when you go to apply to these jobs, it will like show a green check mark based on what skills you have listed on your skills, and what that job is, and it will come out with saying you have 4 out of 10 or 5 out of 10 or whatever the number is. All right. So a lot of people panic over that when they're like, oh, I only have 2 out of the 10 skills. And then they try to go back and they try to adjust their skills and endorsement section to get more skills listed. But here's the thing that I didn't notice, and I don't know if it's shifted or changed, which it may have in how they're doing the premium. But if you have LinkedIn Premium, they give you this job data. And one of those data points, right, is skills. But listen, here was the key difference. It wasn't skills that the recruiter was looking for. The data point that they're showing is skills that you have among all other applicants.
Ah,
So in other words, it's comparing the skills that you have against all the other applicants that have applied to that role. Not what the job poster is looking for, but what others have.
which may very well be irrelevant to what the job poster is looking for.
Yeah, so if there was like an employer brand position and I applied to it and Jeb applied to it, we don't have the same skill sets. Like we might have like personal branding, right?
Yeah.
We have that common skill set, but yours would have photography,
Mine would be like on the creative, aka the art side of it, and yours would be
talent
on
acquisition,
the story
recruiting.
side of it. Yeah.
Yeah. And so like they wouldn't match up. The only thing it would say is like you have one skill set, out of among all the other applicants.
Yeah.
And
thanks, LinkedIn. Thanks for making me feel bad about myself.
Right. Well, so I think so. That's just a really interesting thing to look at. So that's what I text back the client. I was like, no, because here's the thing. At Career Brand Story, we update our clients' skills to be as precise to the job that they are targeting. Right. So be careful that you're not comparing yourself to someone who has never updated their skill section.
Yeah.
That's the risk that you run. And so I explained that. And she's like, oh, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Like, basically ignore that section. If you have taken the time and have really updated and you're really precise about your skill sets for that targeted job, then you're actually the standard, right? Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter. Like all these other people, if they're saying like, actually, if you apply to the right job and you have only match up 2 skill sets, among all the other candidates, and for sure that you've updated your skills and you're right on target for the job, it actually makes you the better qualified candidate for that job than among all the other candidates that have actually applied. So that's the LinkedIn tip. Pay attention to that. You should definitely update your skills, always hard skill sets. You can have up to 50 listed, but be careful. I've said this before, but be careful that you do not compare yourself to other people on LinkedIn.
Or anywhere.
It's a dangerous game.
Yeah, it goes outside of LinkedIn. It's no secret. We talk about like therapy type stuff on this podcast. You shouldn't be comparing yourself to other people. You should be you.
That is true. What other people's opinion of you are, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, because if you are the better candidate, but you're lacking some skill, a lot of people are just looking, are you trainable? You can learn skills. You can learn new skills every day. So don't get stuck in that rut of comparing yourself to your peers.
100% agree. And I think it's so easy, especially in that kind of setting, because there's this like endorphin that goes off when you've got the green check mark.
Yeah. They've like gamified job skills.
Yeah, they really have. It's just like, oh, I got 20 likes on this post. So people must really like what I say and do,
Yeah.
And in reality, it may have nothing. Look, I'll go back to the story with this client. Like they were with someone who's marketed themselves really well in business coaching, but and they're talking about how their program is really, really great and they really believe in it. But the actual business coach doesn't treat their staff that way.
Yeah.
Like they can have all the slick marketing out there that they want, but they're kind of a fraud. They're not actually practicing what they preach. So I don't know. There's a whole nother thing, right, that we could get into.
Sure.
So yeah, don't compare yourself. Watch out for that. Don't go play that game. You just update your skill section on the best of abilities of the jobs that you're targeting, and you're going to be okay.
Yes. Amen.
Yeah. All right. So I did say this is our last episode for the season. We'll be back in January with a new season. I am so proud of the shows that we've produced this year. We had an amazing team over this last year that have helped us And so, I want to thank Christy. I want to thank Abby. I want to thank McKay, Jeb. Everyone has poured some love into this podcast over this last year. And I want to thank you all for listening. All faithful two of you. That doesn't even include my parents anymore. I think they stopped listening. I don't know what happened, but I really do. I want to thank everyone for tuning in, for listening. And I appreciate, we love to hear the stories of how this show has impacted you and maybe has helped, encourage you and change your life. That's why we wanted to do this. Jeb and I are going to continue to do this as long as it's fun for us as well. And so I'm looking forward to next year. You can find us on LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook at Career Brand Story. And while many of you do listen to this podcast, because that is what a podcast is for, you can also watch each episode on YouTube. Search Career Brand Story to find us. And we'd love for you to subscribe. Right now we have 5 subscribers because we kind of switched over to a new channel for us. We would love to get 95 more subscribers. All right. So there's 95 of you out there. I believe that you can do this. You just got to go click the link. Go to YouTube, search Career Brand Story, whatever you got to do to get over there. Go to careerbrandstory.com. You'll find us, and please subscribe. Okay, that helps us.
And let me, I've explained this before, but in case you didn't hear that episode, we're not asking for 95 more subscribers because we want to feel good and get those endorphins. It does feel good.
I do.
We want that, but the purpose
100%.
is YouTube. YouTube blocks you from moving further into your account abilities until you have at least 100 subscribers. So we can't even change the name on our account until we have at least 100 subscribers. So that's kind of the goal with that magic 100 number. And the secondary benefit is that we feel good. We feel like people want to subscribe to us. The other thing I'm going to ask for, since Jeremy got to do the sales pitch for his services, I'm going to ask for you to go give us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. I use Spotify for my podcast, but as far as I know, there's no rating system. So I'm going to ask go to Apple Podcasts, give us a 5-star, not a 4, 3, 2, or 1. If you're a person who gives 1 stars for podcasts, I feel sad for you. What are you doing? So just go give us a 5-star if you like the podcast, and share it with people, because one of the downsides to having a name like Career Brand Story is people think that our podcast is just about getting a new job or something, and they say, well, I already have a job, I don't need to listen to this. But if you are an avid listener to our podcast, we talk a lot more about life than just how to find a job. So yes. Yeah. And so just like Jeremy said, I do thank you all very much for listening to the show. We really appreciate you listening, and we love to share.
Yes. And I just want to say this too. I have been a huge fan of Jeb's work for many, many, many years. He is hands down my favorite photographer, my only premier photographer that I will use for me. All right. He has set the standard. Yeah. But the premier photographer. I will not use anybody else. I'm super, super biased, and I understand that, but I think it's bias for an amazing and good reason, because he does amazing work. And so if you haven't gone and looked at Jeb's stuff, you need to go to Jebgraf. That's JEBBGRAFF.com. You can find all of his stuff, and you can find him at Jebgraf across all social media channels. So please go like his stuff, find him, and use him.
Yes.
He wants to be used.
I want to be used.
Yes. So does amazing stuff, and he's done some amazing work for our clients as well, in collaboration with a lot of the work we do around personal brand. So it's fantastic to be able to engage with him on those projects. So check him out. you definitely will not regret that.
Thanks. Appreciate the plug.
Yeah. Whew.
All right.
Okay. This
I think,
is it.
I think that's it.
Till the new year.
Yeah. Happy New Year. Happy holidays.
Happy New Year. Happy
and,
holidays.
See you in the official next year. We start the official season 2 of the podcast.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone, and keep thriving.
If you're interested in advertising your business on our podcast, please visit careerbrandstory.com/advertise.